Hi there, it's Fran from psychicandenergywork.com.au, and this is my monthly update for May 2025. The monthly update is a halfway through the month look at the dynamics and the numerology of the current month. And the purpose for that, or the aim for that, is to help you make sense of what's going on and perhaps dive a little bit deeper into your spiritual or energetic practice, however you need to. So for this May, what I want to do is focus on this month's specific numerology. So in numerology, you've got two levels of number each month. You've got the numbers that come every time a specific month comes around. For example, May every year is the 5th month, so it has a birth number of 5. So if you then add those numbers, those three main numbers, to the year's numerology, you can also get a layer that I call the specific numerology for the month. And it could be that other people call it different names. Do this as well. So the specific numerology starts to help us understand what's happening this month, this year, as spiritual learning curves, as energetic dynamics, even as intuitive challenges and learning curves. So this year we have for a birth number, which always tells us the what we're about to discover yet again. May 2025, just bear with me, I'll look to the side at the chart, brings us 2030, which reduces to 5. The MO, which tells us how, the sort of dynamics that will prompt us towards that 20305. The MO is 115, which reduces to 7. The combination of those two numbers is 21453. So why am I wanting to focus here? Because 2030 in itself is quite a powerful dynamic. Any dynamic with a 0 in it, any number with a 0 in it, is signalling the fact that time out matters, space is really important, silence is essential, and also the spiritual connection, one's spiritual connection. In other words, the spiritual practice that we as individuals embrace, however we do, from whatever angle, that helps us tune in to the right frequencies, download the highest level of intelligence that's possible, and in a sense, stay in connection with ourself, with our path, with our journey, as the unique set of constructs and experiences and developments, that we're here to embrace. 2030, of course, has 2 zeros, which sort of signals, you know what, space, time out, your spiritual connection really, really matters this month. It always does. But through these things, 2030, so by learning a bit about the world of other, the outside world, the socialization constructs that you're in amongst, then by withdrawing to take time out, tune in spiritually and download guidance on those aspects, then by going back into flow to learn how you're manifesting or about how you're manifesting, and quite possibly how you are expressing and or not, then also doubling back into a 0, space, time out, spiritual connection, the need to get in contact with self, Through these things we get to 5, which is change, it's growth, it's evolution. I often bang on about the fact that 5 is change or adventure or pioneer, but 5 is also growth. Therefore, evolution, development. In other words, 5 is that moment that helps us step into the next layer of ourselves as spiritual beings. Obviously, we all have a choice in that. We don't have to take the spiritual route at all. And yet life often sort of railroads us that way, even if it's only as a realization. This month's MO for this year is a 1157. So the 5 appears again, but so too the 2 do the 2 ones, in itself. Therefore, that 2 is a powerful number because you've got a double 1 appearing in the digit 115. 7 is the end result of that. Spiritual wisdom, practical wisdom that you can use that's usually obtained by taking time out and downloading guidance that confirms, negates, verifies where you're at, what you've been in amongst, what you need to do next, and perhaps even how you're going to be best served by doing that. The reality number this month is a 21453. 3 is realize. 3 is also creativity. Within that, therefore, 3 is attracting or manifesting and learning about those dynamics, as well as expression and communication. So, in a sense, you might get a feel for the fact that this month's chart, and on one level we can say this every month, but this month's chart is quite heavily loaded towards the development of self-awareness as a manifesting, as a co-creating, as an activating or influencing being, even channel. As part of that, of course, we are always dared, and I'd argue over these last sort of 6-12 months in particular, we are always dared to step into our knowledge of ourselves and also therefore step into a space where we are perhaps embracing ourselves, honouring ourselves, respecting ourselves, backing ourselves to the next degree, not necessarily because we're at war or arguing or, operating from those angles, we might need to be, but also from an angle of, I just know myself better now. I just know myself more. I know myself completely. Within that, therefore, you could argue is the aspect that is self-care or self-acknowledgement. I'm banging on a lot about self at the moment, aren't I? And yet, if we're talking about manifesting, our ability to stand with ourselves and for ourselves, not in an egoic sense, not in a win-lose sort of fashion, but in a balanced, truly spiritual way. Our ability to do these things well requires us to really stand by our values, to represent our ethics and our thoughts, our feelings, our convictions. Again, that doesn't need to mean stubbornness or arrogance or war. What it means, though, is I know myself so well that I know that this is the formula for me. And if I step out of that position, then life doesn't flow as well as it could, whether that's for me, whether that is for others, whether that is for us all, and it's usually the last. Within that, therefore, comes the opportunity for us to even acknowledge ourselves on the energetic level. What do I mean by that? Of course, there are lots of models out there that are about self-love, self-acknowledgement, taking care of self. One aspect of that, and all of those models can add value, but one aspect of that can be the exercise of picturing yourself in a sense as two beings, not because you split yourself in two, but in a sense you're picturing you as the spiritual you, who can give love, who can mentor, who in a sense is adult, is spiritual adult, that is ready to just be who you are, represent your values and stand up for everybody else on that level as well as yourself. So there's that you, but then there's also the egoic you that quite possibly has been trying to fulfill goals, working to schedules, quite possibly demanding time frames or calendars at time, project managing in a way that's always about attaining the next step or just even managing your day and the duties or the responsibilities that you have in the day-to-day reality. That as a stance can become, shall we say, too adopted at times. We can get too entrenched in that in a way that all of a sudden we forget to take care of ourselves. We start to just soldier on and just keep going. And within that, we can start to end up feeling depleted, feeling exhausted, quite possibly feeling neglected because nobody is actually feeding back to us what we seem to be giving out to the world. And yet in that very moment, we're being asked to remember that, hang on, we're supposed to feed ourselves first, not on a selfish level, not on a greed level, Yeah, but more in terms of, hello, you've been born into this world to take care of yourself as well as everybody else. The only way your journey is going to unfold in all the ways it can, the only way that you're going to, shall we say, manifest all that is possible as a receiving as well as a giving being, is for you to look after yourself. Now, we can know that on a physical, even a mental, emotional level, but do we do it energetically and therefore spiritually? So picture yourself, the two of you, the spiritual self that knows these things and probably does it for everybody else or towards everybody else, hopefully. And then that part of you that is so in the spiritual side, so in the desire to get out there and make life as much as it can be, that perhaps all it does is work on projects, manage projects, and act or exist on more of a delivery, go, go, go time frame. Turn around to that aspect of you and actually give you a hug. Now, that sounds a bit corny at times, doesn't it? But what I'm trying to say is don't just give you a hug. There's nothing wrong with giving you a hug. But what I'm meaning there is don't just give yourself a tokenistic hug. There, you'll be all right. Or, I sort of love you. Give yourself the love, give yourself therefore the hug, and maybe it's not called a hug, maybe it is called an embrace. Give yourself or embrace yourself, actually see yourself and therefore feel yourself, embracing every part of you from the very top of your being right down to the very bottom of you. Yeah, in a way that in that actually sense yourself making contact with every part of you as a touch, as an acknowledgement that you're real, that you exist, that each part of you is valued, and all the way down to the tips of your toes and under your feet. This is such a powerful acknowledgement exercise, and within that it's also a very powerful clearing exercise, rebooting exercise, and actually therefore realigning, healing exercise. Often by doing this we help ourselves come back to that moment where, you know what, I've been sort of waiting for the outside world to affirm me, when I actually have to affirm myself, because this is an exercise. It asks us to stand by ourselves even if we're not performing to 100% today. Even if, my goodness, you did that this morning, I don't know whether I could really forgive you for that. You could have done a better job. Of course we can. We're human. That's part of our learning curve. It's therefore part of our narrative. But you see, unless you back you on this level, in other words, I'm here for you even if you're not doing as well as I reckon you could. Even if there's more for you to achieve. I'm here for you. I back you. I stand by you, even if I have to challenge you at times, or maybe even admit to others, you know what, yeah, I have sort of been off path a bit. But you know what? I back myself. I'm with myself. I even put my arm around myself as I say that, in a way that is about cancelling out any sense of travelling alone, feeling isolated, feeling empty or abandoned even, simply because the outside world isn't delivering those sensations or dynamics towards us enough. Because at the end of the day, it's not the outside world's job to do that for any of us, even though we can all do that for one another, and hopefully we do. At the end of the day, on a spiritual level, on a true spiritual level, in terms of manifesting the right energetic reality around, within, towards, and from ourselves, we have to get our own energetic state and bundle right. And therefore, it comes back to those zeros, those ones in this month's chart. Zero is, can you connect to the divine again? Can you connect to the universe in a way that you let go of everything else just to come back into alignment with yourself and your spirituality, your spiritual journey, which is a practical physical journey too, yeah, in all the ways you can. In other words, know yourself before you move out the door to socialise. Ground in yourself before you set out to mingle on an energetic level, a thought or projecting level, let alone a physical and interactive level. Because the more we allow ourselves to reboot in our own energy, in a way that we embrace that all of us, even if there's more to be, the more we do that, the more complete we'll feel, the more resilient we will feel, and the more, therefore, we will re-energize ourselves to get out there and do whatever we're here to do in our own very unique and rather wonderful way. So hopefully this adds value to you halfway through May 2025. If you need a hand, whether that's learning about these sorts of things numerologically or even just spiritually, energetically, intuitively, or if you just want a session of any sort, please feel free to get in contact via the website psychicandenergywork.com.au. Thanks for tuning in. All the very best to you. Take good care. And don't forget, at the beginning of June, I'll be publishing my monthly observations on the website and on YouTube. Please feel free to tune in. Travel well. All the best.